I'll tell you a story about this old man, and he went down to the store one day, and they had 100-pound bags of salt in the store. And he picked that 100-pound bag of salt up with his teeth and pulled his head apart. He had to wear a bandana around his head so long a time. And I didn't hardly believe him, but I was over at B-Log one day. This old man, I stopped there at Arthur Edwards' store right next to B-Log School. And there's no man sitting back there behind the heater. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Amos Ledford's grandson." He said, "Did old man Amos ever tell you about that time he pulled his head apart?" I said, "Yeah, he told me a lot of times." "Well," he said, "you can believe it." He said, "I was there." That's what he said. That old man told me that. He said, "I was right there when he done it. Pulled his head apart some way. I don't know how to, what he done, but picked up 100 pounds of salt with his teeth. He's tough, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Kenneth Parker. I was raised in Yancey County, and that's been a while. I was born in 1942, last Saturday, not this past Saturday. I was 82 years old. That was my birthday, 13th day of January.
Hello, I'm Tim Barnwell, and I'd like to welcome you to the Face of Appalachia. I first met Ken Parker in the early 1980s when he was pastor at Arrington Branch Baptist Church in Madison County, North Carolina. I was there photographing their homecoming events and took pictures of him preaching, doing a river baptism, and at the grave decoration. Ken's always been a central figure in this community, and over the years I've run into him at many events, including church and neighborhood gatherings, and lending a hand on friends' farms. He's one of the most well-respected men I know. Recently, I sat down with him to talk about his extraordinary life of service to others and spoke with his children about their dad. Ken's a great storyteller. I think you'll really enjoy getting to know this fine man and hearing more of his fascinating tales.
Good morning. I'm glad to have Tim Barnwell with me today. Me and him's going to do a little talking.
Your mule's out there talking.
Yeah, that mule, did you hear him? Son, he's all right. Good to have you, Tim. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
I grew up in Yancey County, Ball Mountain, B-Log. 1942, my mama got me out from under a rock. And I'm a kid. And I'm 82 years old. I enjoy blessings of just getting up every morning, doing something or other. I stay around here a little while, and then I get out and loafer. And they said the other day, why don't you save money buying that gas? I said, as long as I got the money, I'm going to buy gas and loafer. Well, when I was growing up, my mama, I was the oldest one in the family. And my mama, my daddy was gone, and I worked for people around in that community. I worked for 30 cents an hour, 40 cents an hour to help my mama. I'd go down the store and buy flour. You could buy it in 25-pound bags then. I'd go down the store and buy a 25-pound bag of flour and lay it on my shoulder and take it home. Buy coffee and sugar. And back there, they didn't call it Crisco, they called it lard, pure lard. And I'd buy stuff like that to help my mama. And I remember when I was a boy, I used to go to the mill for my grandpa. That was my job. Way back yonder, when I was a boy growing up, I had a big long sack. They called it a mill sack. and they'd shell that corn and tie the end of it and put that on a horse, and I'd go to mill, get that ground, bring it back. And that's part of that old-timey stuff.
Okay, so tell me about this picture.
All right. This is my grandpa. His name is Amos B. Ledford. And I used to ask him, I'd say, what does that B stand for? I called him Grandpa. He said, that B is for Brownlow, Amos Brownlow Ledford. He was born in 1870, died in 1979, 109-year-old. Son, he's a tough egg. I mean, he's tough. Had his legs broke 5 times on a logging job. Worked down the Sunburst Mountain. Train run away. They pulled the train in there one night, and it froze up. The brakes froze up on it, and he said the next morning it thawed up, and he told me this probably at least 100 times. There was 14 men on that train loading logs, started to load logs, and that train run away down that mountain, and it killed all them men but him. It killed 13 men on that train wreck. He jumped off. He said he went around a curve and jumped off in a pile of brush. That's all that saved him. Said he killed all 13 of them but him. That's what he told me.
Did you go to school in the area, or did you?
I went one day in the 7th grade at Belog School over in Yancey County. One day in the 7th grade. And somebody asked me the other day, said, did you go to school? I said, yeah, I was the only one in the 7th grade old enough to vote. And I said, my brother, Carl, I said, he was the only one in the 3rd grade old enough to shave. So I went one day in the 7th grade, Belog School.
So was it just had to work at the farm?
Yeah, well, I had to work to help my mama, mostly. That's one reason I didn't. And then another reason, back there, you know, they didn't make you go to school like I did now. They just about force you to go. But back in, you didn't have to go. I mean, they didn't make you go.
So how did you learn to read and write and get around?
Well, experience is the greatest teacher you ever had. I've done carpenter work all my life. I built houses, helped build houses for 35 years. And I learned a lot from experience. The man that I worked for, he learned me the things that I needed to know. And I worked for some good men, and they're always good to me. And experience, I didn't know how to build a chicken coop back in, but I learned over the years. Experience is the greatest teacher you ever had. Well, the real change come when I was 28 years old, and that's when I got saved. Up here at the head of Grapevine, that little old church burnt down. That's the best thing ever happened to me in my lifetime. But I've had a lot of good things to happen to me in life. I've been blessed, man, I've been blessed. And I'm still blessed. I got that little old thing over on the wall. Kim ordered that for me. It says, good morning, this is God. I'll be handling all your problems today, and I will not need your help, so have a great day. And I read that every morning.
So tell me a little bit, you had how many children?
I got Philip, Kim, and Angie. I got 3 kids, 4 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. Yeah.
So I know Kim lives close. How about the others?
Philip lives right up there, side of the road, and Angie lives up there right below Arrington Branch Church up on the bank there. All of them live pretty close.
It must be nice to have them around.
Yeah. Lord bless me with a good family. My wife had a lot to do with that. She had a lot of a job to raise my children. She done a good job. That's me and my wife. It was made in 1994. I was out to CVS the other day and I took this out there to have a picture made, and they couldn't make it on account of it being so big. And there's a woman out there, and she said, hold it just a minute. And she took a picture on her phone to this picture, and that man run it through that machine, made me 8 pictures. So that's been a long time ago, 30 years ago, 1994.
The Parker family invited me to one of their weekly get-togethers where we shared a meal and some great fellowship. His 3 children, Kim, Angie, and Philip, are best friends and love kidding each other, retelling funny stories from the past. The meal began with a blessing by their dad and ended with coffee and a slice of Angie's famous walnut cake. Afterwards, I asked them to share some memories about their parents and growing up in the community.
Where are you preaching at this week? I don't know.
You don't have an appointment, do you, Dad?
Oh, first time in a long time.
It probably wouldn't hurt you to
Rest up.
rest.
I'm Kim Coates, and of course my dad's Ken Parker, and my mom's Martha Parker. And we grew up right here. This was where we grew up. This is our home place, and we grew up as preacher's kids. And I just, around here, everybody came. It was kind of the hub of the community. Dad pastored the local church, Arrington Branch Baptist Church, for about 9 or 10 years. So we had every kid in the community right here. We played ball. Dad played with us. Dad and Mom never wanted us to be or act a certain way because we were preachers' children, because we were preachers' kids. Mom always said the Bible says, and they wanted us to act the way we acted because we love the Lord and because it's what the Bible said. And so that's how we grew up. We grew up with a lot of love, a lot of laughter, and a lot of play. It wasn't all about just being a preacher's kid. It was about being Mom and Dad's children and then a preacher's kid.
So my name's Angie Chambers. I was a Parker. My mom's Martha Parker. My dad's Kenneth Parker. You know, they instilled work ethic and showing up on time and being a hard worker and being proud of what you do and always being kind. Just always being kind. Mom and Daddy, they were always kind. Sorry. They didn't know, there was no difference. You know, you could have $1 million or no dollars, and Mom and Daddy always treated you the same. So, if we had company or whatever, Mom always made sure they had something to eat before they left. Just stuff like that. Just kindness and goodness. I told somebody the other day, we had to bring him out to the medical center the other day, and they were talking about him, and I said, I don't ever remember my dad being, saying anything bad about people, negative. He's the same if you meet him in the house as he is at the grocery store or at church. He's always been the same.
I remember my childhood when Dad was pastoring here, and first one thing the other is all hours of the night, get a telephone call and be anywhere, and then I've heard him pray all over these mountains here. He's got a place over here he used to go pray while he was able, and a lot of people's come down the road and said, what in the world's going on? And he'd be over there praying for somebody, praying for the community, and us kids can tell you, I'd say he's prayed more for us in our childhood, and he still does. He's prayed more for us, and the Lord just put me into the ministry, called me into the ministry, and I said I wasn't going to, but I did, and it's the best thing that I ever done. And really, when it boils down to it, he's forgot more than I know about. He's my hero. I can't do the things that he does. He's a lot more respected than I am. Of course, I mean, he's all around good man, and he's good to everybody. There's no partiality, no way in that man sitting in there. And he's loved and respected in this part of the country as much as anybody I know, not because he's my dad. But yeah, things changed a little bit when I started preaching. I found out what he'd went through all them years. Yeah, But we love him, we appreciate him, and I only hope I can be a part of the man that he is.
Tell me about that photo.
This is a picture of me and my wife and Philip, Angie, Kim, and Donna. That's Philip's wife. I don't know when it's made, but it must have been made a while back. Look at that hair on that man there. It's black kind of. Now it's white and fell out. My daddy left when I was a little boy. My grandpa raised me. And he taught me how to be honest, be fair with people. I've always been a people person. I mean, I don't make no difference to me what they're involved in. I want to help them. My grandpa taught me things that nobody else taught me. He taught me how to be honest, taught me how to get along with people. And he couldn't read nor write. He didn't even know his name tacked up on the side of the wall, but he had that down inside. So honestly, pays off. Be fair with people, try to get along with people, get involved with people. I get involved with people. And that's part of life. I've always done that, and I always will do it. He's something else. I used to take him over to Irving. Now, hush a minute. I used to take him over to Irving. You never did have much money over at the bank. I'd take him over there. That man over at the bank would take him over at that restaurant across the street. Every time, buy his dinner. And we could start back across Spivey Mountain. My grandpa say, "Old timer, that's the safest bank in the United States of America." I said, "There ain't never been a penny took out of it." That's what he'd say every time. Every time I'd take him over, he said, "That's the safest bank in the United States of America." When he died, he had $1,500, 109 years old. That's all he had. He started drawing Social Security in 1936. That's when it first come out. Drawed $8 a month. That's what he drawed.
Saved up for a long time, I guess, to get that much.
Yeah. Son, he is tight. He wasn't. My brother and my cousin asked him to borrow a quarter. And this is what he'd say. He'd say, "Old timer, if they was to drive a brand new Cadillac up out there and say you can have it for 50 cents, he'd say, I'd say drive on." He wouldn't let him borrow a quarter.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself?
Philip Parker.
And who's this man?
That's Kenneth Parker, my dad.
And he says you're the one in charge today.
No, not hardly. I tell him all. He says I'm his manager. He tells everybody I'm his manager, but you can't manage nobody. It won't be managed. Yeah.
Too old to be managed, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're both together and someone says Reverend Parker, who are they talking to?
Ain't talking to him. Ain't talking to him. I'm just plain old preacher. He's a reverend. Oh, Lord. Yeah, they talking to him. He's the old dog in this outfit here. He forgot more than I know. Daddy said I never would amount to nothing. He said, "You see a man come down the road leading the dog, you wouldn't amount to nothing."
Carrying a shotgun and a fishing pole.
Carrying a shotgun and a fishing pole. So he wouldn't amount to nothing. So.
Yeah, did you hunt much when you were
I
born?
go about once a year.
Yeah.
That's all I go. I didn't go none.
He used to go with us, so he used to go. He can't get around. He still deer hunts. Yeah, he's a deer hunting connoisseur.
You got a few heads on the wall in your house?
I got two. Is all I ever had mounted.
Oh, okay.
Philip had them done for Christmas, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you fish any?
Me and him went the other day. First time I'd been. I'm afraid to go by myself.
Right.
Fall in the creek, I hit my head on a rock or something other. He wanted to go over there, and we went over there.
That's neat.
We used to fish all the time. We used to go down to Cherokee when they was little. 2 weeks out of the year, we'd go down and camp, fish.
Well, neat.
Yeah.
Bill, do you remember that?
Oh yeah, Lord, yeah. I was the reason it was going. I used to fish more than probably anybody I know. And then Mama, she loved to fish. She loved it. I mean, she absolutely loved it.
She'd stay in a hole and never move, wasn't she?
But my aunt started taking me when I was 4 or 5 years old. Her name was Mary Hancock. And she'd take me, she drug me all over the place when I was just a kid, and I fell in love with fishing. And then my wife still do right smart trout fishing if we get a chance. Yeah, we had some of the best times of our lives, me and my sisters. We used to go stay in tent, no truck bed, anything, and they bought a pop-up camper. And we thought we was right up there with everybody else. And we got thing down there, and me and my 2 sisters, my mom, we'd catch them fish, she'd fry them. Pretty good memories.
How about your grandmother?
My grandma died in 1964, I believe it was. She was a fender from Foster's Creek. When I went over to Foster to pastor, 1989, I guess it was, I didn't know I was akin to everybody up and down through there, but that's where my grandma come from, was Foster's Creek. And my grandpa married her in 1900. And I'll tell you this, and then I'll hush. They used to walk from Foster's Creek across the ball down to Rowan Fork. That's where my grandpa and them lived. And Hobart Fender was her brother. And Hobart and them would go over and visit my grandpa and grandma. And my grandpa and grandma would walk back over to Foster and visit them. My grandpa said they was going across the top of the Ball Mountain, Wolf Laurel. He said they used to have about 200 head of cattle up there. They just take them up there and turn them loose and go back that fall and get them. And he said there's a big bull come down through there. He said there's a big rock there. And he said they got up on top of that rock, and he said he had an old 32-20 pistol in his pocket. He carried an old pistol all the time. And he said that bull tried to get up on that rock, and he said I shot him right between the eyes. He said that hit that skull, and said the bullet come out right beside of his horn. He'd tell, he had some tales to tell, boy, but he really did. He said I shot him right between the eyes, and said the bullet hit that skull, and said he come out right beside of his horn, walking to Foster's Creek. He's a good buddy of mine. Taught me everything I know as a boy.
So I think the first time we met was probably 40 years ago more, when you were preaching at Arrington Branch Baptist Church. I was there for the homecoming and photographing the river baptism and all. So how long were you a preacher there?
I pastored 7.5 years at Arrington Branch, 25 years at Foster's Creek, and 5 years at Laurel Bend.
Well, that's quite a long career.
Yeah.
So I bet you met a lot of wonderful people over that time.
I did. Got acquainted with most of the people in Madison County, Yancey County, Buncombe County, Tennessee. I've been all over the place preaching.
Yeah. I guess something you've enjoyed?
Yeah, I've enjoyed it to the fullest.
Yeah.
I've been preaching 52 years.
You still fill in here and there? Or?
I still preach. I went to Foster's Creek yesterday. I'm going down to Big Laurel next Sunday. And I've been to 14 churches in the last 9 months.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how big an area is that?
Well, I've been to Yancey County lately, been to Tennessee, over to Irving, Tennessee, been to Buncombe County up on Rims Creek, been over on Foster's Creek, the other church over there next to Foster's Creek. I've preached over there several times. Been down to Grapevine, Arrington Branch, Peaks Chapel. I've been all over the place. I'll tell you what's going on. Amen. I've got this jawbone. Thank God. Amen, Matthew. You say, is that story excites you? I don't read nothing in the Old Testament, New Testament that don't excite me. I got up this morning, 6 o'clock, I began to read about Samson. I sat down in the chair and I felt the Holy Ghost, praise God.
Yeah.
I said, Lord, I don't understand how you done all these things. Got them 300 men and won the battle.
Yeah.
I don't understand why a man can take the jawbone of an ass, amen, and kill 1,000. You say, boy, this piled up one. I want him on my side.
Yeah.
Amen. When I pastored all the time, I don't know how many, thousands of times I'd guess that I've been to hospital. I've been up there every hour of the night. You name it, I've been there. I enjoy it. I get tired and wore out, but I enjoy it. When I first started preaching, I had a lot of revivals, and I worked on a job all the time. And I took these boys and girls of mine, and people say, well, we don't do stuff like that no more. But we went 8 weeks one time and missed 2 nights, my young'uns, growing up, going to revival. One right after the other. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Yeah.
So when did you first start preaching?
Let's see. I was 28 years old when I started preaching. And that's been about 52 years, I guess, when I first started.
What kind of gave you the calling? What made you want to be a preacher?
Well, I know there's a lot of things happen in this world, but that calling has to come from the Lord. That's His calling. There's a lot of preachers, and just like pastors, ain't a lot of pastors, but there's a lot of preachers. But my job was to be a pastor. That was in my heart. You have to have a pastor's heart to be a pastor.
So you always did river baptisms?
Yeah, all my life. I baptized in Tennessee, Yancey County, Buncombe County, and Madison County. Yeah.
Are they all times of the year, or does
Any time. It didn't make no difference. They didn't have no time. If they wanted to be baptized in the wintertime, baptize them. And I've been to 2 night baptizing.
Well, tell me
Yeah.
about that. I've never seen
Yeah. There's a boy got saved, and he wanted to be baptized that night. They turned the car lights over there and baptized him. And I've been in another 2 night baptizing. Yeah. Something else.
Well, I can imagine that all those cars sitting around the pond, or
Yeah,
they did.
yeah, they had their lights on. People didn't know what was going on, I don't reckon, but had the night baptized. And down at Petersburg, where the old mill pond used to be for Severs's Mill, my cousin come in from Wisconsin. He said, why don't you ask your grandpa about being baptized? I said, all right. He's 96 years old. And that mill pond was froze over, 10 inches ice. Me and Stuart Edwards took an axe and chopped the road out in that mill pond. And chopped out a hole there and carried him out there in a wooden chair and baptized him. 10 inches ice. Never even sneezed. Never affected him one bit. My cousin, he worked for the Billy Graham Association. He wanted to see my grandpa baptized. And I said, I'll ask him. He said, yeah. And I took him down there and baptized him. I guess there's 40 or 50 people there. My aunt was standing up on the bank and she's saying, you gonna kill Pap? You gonna kill Pap? I said, I ain't gonna hurt Pap. And he never even sneezed or nothing. Never got a cold or nothing. 109 years old. That's how long he lived. I buried 35 people in one family. 35. Good friends of mine. And I know them all. I've buried little babies that got to live 3 minutes, and then I buried that old 190-year-old man. All ages. I've been there. Yeah. I've lived a life of the Lord, and I've got to be acquainted with a lot of people. I've always tried to treat everybody the same. I never did try to treat nobody different.
It sounds like you kind of followed in his footsteps. You're a preacher too?
Yeah, I pastor Oak Grove Baptist Church.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing that?
I've been down there 23 years.
Wow.
23 years down at Oak Grove. I've been preaching about 27, 28.
So what made you go into that?
The calling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't rest without doing it. Couldn't be satisfied without doing it. So, and only a preacher could tell you that. I mean, you can do anything you want to, still be working for the Lord or singing or whatever, but if God calls you to preach, you'll never be satisfied until you do that.
You remember going to church with your dad preaching?
Oh, yeah. He pastored Arrington Branch when I was a kid. And, I remember.
So you told me one time that there's a difference between a preacher and a pastor. What did you mean by that?
Well, you got to have a different heart. I mean, it's all right to be an evangelist. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's good. But you've got to have a heart for the people to be a pastor. I mean, you got to watch out for the flock, take care of the sheep. A lot involved in it. That's all I've ever done all my life, pastor.
When I was lost in sin and shame, the blessed Savior came. He lifted me on higher ground. Now for heaven I am bound. There is God and He is real. Deep in my heart His love I feel. When I am waking the song, I'll sing and know. Amen. God. Amen.
On this channel, I hope to continue to honor the people, vibrant culture, and strong traditions of Appalachia. If you share my interest in the people and places I call home, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to learn more about this way of life. If you like the black and white photographs you see in our videos, you can find my books online at barnwellphoto.com.
Mom's not here to do it.
If Mom was here with that business, great.
Well, I tried to